Arise, Queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breizy Time.
Welcome to the All Queens Army podcast. This is your girl, your host, Breizy Time. I am here again with another dope episode with one of the queens in the queendom, honey. She is a second-time guest on the show. Actually, one of the top-rated shows that we had was her episode. So I am so excited, guys, to have Jamie back on the show today. And hopefully she's excited to talk to us and drop a little bit of tea. Yes, honey. Drop a little tea. So yesterday, I think I told you guys today, actually, that yesterday, which was Sunday, I attended an event that Jamie did, which was called For Married Gals Only. So it is for the sisters out there who have a husband, and it was a support group. It was such a fantastic event. I had such a great time. I actually bought a guest. My sister went with me. So Jamie is here. We're going to talk about that because so many things came up from that event. And it's so funny because it's like all the women had the same story, so to speak. Different man, different woman, same kind of issue. And we bonded over it. It was so beautiful, y'all. I love to see women come together and bond. And most of us didn't know each other from a can of paint. So it was so awesome. So first and foremost, I want to say, Jamie, thank you so much for putting on event. It was so fun. And welcome to the All Queens Army again.
I'm so excited to be back.
Yes, honey. Because we had such a great time the last time.
An amazing time.
We did.
Amazing time. And I was like waiting for you to call me, like you wanted me to come back. So when you sent me this invite, I was like, yes.
Yes. Because we just have to talk. Like, it's so funny how as women, we don't talk. You know, like we talk about things, but we don't really talk about it in a way where we're getting to the core of what's going on or why we feel a certain way. And with so many educated, experienced women, it is absolutely enlightening for women to just come together, talk to each other. And there's so many different levels of experience. There were women who had been married for over 20 years, right?
We had over 20 years to less than 2 years.
Yep.
That's how the event came about. God had laid it on my heart and it was time to bring it into fruition. A lot of the individuals in the room I had personal conversations with, you included.
Yep.
When you hear this person's story and that person's story, and one thing about me, I'm never messy. So what I'm not going to do is share personal experiences with you from someone else, whether you know them or not. So I thought it was good for those individuals to share their own story and allow other people to hear them, because you never ever know who else is dealing with that. Yep. And one thing I know for certain is that in talking to all of the different women on personal levels, the way that they handle those situations were all different.
Right.
How I handle it may not necessarily be the way you should handle it, but it could be something that you could get from it, and it may help you to reflect on it differently and help you to decide how you choose to, handle your situation with your spouse, because people have it all twisted. I get so tired of running into people, and I'm not taking away anything from first-time brides. I'm not. But it's like, I really wish people understood that it's so much more than a veil.
Oh, yes, honey.
Than some flowers.
Girls, preach.
And picking out your bridesmaids. Yes. Because I tell my single friends all the time, you're not about this wife life.
Listen.
You're not.
It's hard.
Being single.
Yeah, it's hard.
I envy you. Like,
yeah, marriage
to
is hard.
wake up one day on your own time to now your time is scheduled around everybody else's time. That is a traumatic change. It's a very traumatic change, or it can be. That's one of the points that was brought up on yesterday. A lot of us, all of us,
I was going to say everybody,
all of us discussed how we had lost ourselves in our marriages. Not necessarily in our marriages, but in our homes, period. Some haven't been mothers, wives, whichever. We lost our own identity. Speaking on myself, I shared the story about myself going to couples counseling with my husband. And like I said, I had called my girlfriends. I vented to my sister and everybody about, I just wish Kenny would do this and he don't do that. And I'm not happy here and I'm not happy that. And I wish I could just get up and blah, blah, blah. So we get in counseling, and I'm expressing these things to our counselor as well. And so when my husband looked at me and said, Jamie, what is it that you want me to do, or what is it that I need to do to make you happy? I just cried.
You didn't know.
I looked at him, I looked at the counselor, and I started to cry because I really didn't have an answer.
Right.
And I felt even more bad about it because here it is, I was ridiculing this man, and he really wasn't doing anything wrong. He was trying to figure me out. My husband will tell you to this day, he can't even buy me a gift because he knows I'm not hard to please, I'm nonchalant. He doesn't want to mess up. He would rather just give me the money and I go purchase the gift myself. But then my attitude is that's so impersonal. Like, try to, learn me, try to figure me out. Right. But how can I expect for him to learn me and I don't even know myself?
I was just getting ready to say that.
I don't even know myself.
Yeah, if you don't know what you want,
how can I expect
nobody
else? And
I
was looking for this man because we will have been together next year for 10 years. I was looking for him to make me happy. I wanted my husband, my spouse. I looked at marriage like, you are the one that is responsible for my happiness.
Oh, no, baby.
No.
I just did an episode about that.
I am responsible for my happiness. If I don't make me happy, how can I expect for not just my husband, my friends, how can I expect for anybody to make me happy? It doesn't work like that. So not only have we, started couples counseling, but me actually bringing this event into fruition was because I had started my own personal counseling as well. And one of the things that she told me to do, which was one of the solutions that was brought up yesterday, is to start to do things that I like. Start to figure out what it is that Jamie likes to do, how she likes to do it, and put me first.
Yes, preach, honey.
Put me first. It doesn't mean that I love anybody any less. It doesn't mean that I'm not taking care of my responsibilities, but at the end of the day, I needed to put me first, because if you don't take care of you, you can't be there for everybody else.
Absolutely not. You know what's funny is, and I don't know where I heard this from, I just remember hearing it, and I used it in the Motivation Monday segment that dropped today. Someone said one day that what's in your cup is for you. What overflows is for everyone else. So because if your cup is empty, that means you're empty. You have nothing.
You have nothing to give.
You have nothing to give. And you're really no good to anyone, not your family, not your children. Like, you can't be a good person for your family. You can't be a provider for them, nurturing, financially, anything, if you're working with an empty cup. So we actually have to learn how to fill our own cups. And then what overflows, that goes to your husband, your boyfriend, your kids, whomever. And I just think that that's important, because when, I know you probably heard this too, when we were coming up, there's this thing, and I think some women still say it, like, I'll do whatever for my kids. My kids will look like a bomb, and they'll have the latest and greatest, and I look like a bomb. But you know what? I get it. I get the point of what you're trying to say, right? But when you really dig deep under the surface of what that means, what it also was saying is that everyone is important, but I'm not.
Absolutely.
And that, I think,
because that
is
was
a
me.
problem. Yeah, that's a problem, though.
Not caring how my hair looked. As long as my husband wasn't complaining, I really didn't care either. I wear the same thing every day. I wash, but I wear the same thing every day. I put a bandana on my head, a bonnet, a scarf. Like, I didn't care. So now I try to make it my business to care. My kids say it all the time. Like, Ma, you used to, dress a certain way or be a certain way and do a certain thing. And it was like, you know what? I need to get back to that place.
I think it's important.
I need to get back to that place, because how can I set an example for them or try to, sow into them if they see me falling off the way that I have? I've been in a funk probably the past 3 weeks, literally. And everybody used the example, of being the Olivia Pope.
Yeah.
And I think that was awesome, because that is me. I am the one that everybody comes to fix their problems and do. And it's like, when it's your time or your turn, who is your Olivia Pope? And so, I don't have that person. So it's like, I need to put me first.
You do.
I can't expect for anybody to do it for me. Simple as
Here's the
that.
thing. If you do it for yourself first, everybody will follow suit. I can't remember the girl's name. I think her name was Janie yesterday.
Janie.
So Janie said something that I thought was extremely important. And she said, I'm the queen of the house. Like, I set the tone. And with
let's rewind here. What she said that I think all wives and women should hear is, we don't know
our
the power
yeah, she did.
that we have in our household. That's what she said first. And then she went into what you just said. And I think that is the ultimate truth.
It is.
Like she said, we should not be wives looking for daycare for our children, especially when your significant other is the person that helped you to make those kids.
Hello?
Why are we stressing?
Right.
And what she say? say. She would grab her bag, go get in the car, and not even say nothing. She would just pull off. Like she said, what are you going to do? Call me because he's watching his kid? You know what I mean? And I have found myself doing that.
Really?
I have found myself doing that. Like asking my mother, asking my kids, or asking, no, dad is home.
Right.
So that is who's going to watch these kids while I'll go out and do what I want to do for me for once. It's not like an everyday thing.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I'm not saying totally neglect your responsibilities, but at the end of the day, you have to find some kind of time.
Yeah, there has to be some me time. There has to be a time. Again, I was just talking about this on the motivator segment today. And I said, I have this rule that Sunday is my day. Sunday is the day that I tell my son, don't ask me for anything. Just don't. Don't ask me for anything. I mean, you can call me.
That's awesome.
We can talk, but
That's
don't
awesome.
ask me for anything. Just give me one day.
The benefits of having one son.
Yeah, see? But that's why I stopped, right? My husband the same. Don't call me on Sunday harassing me about what needs to be done, what you forgot, what you need me to look at. Just give me one day. And anything that I decide to do on Sunday is because I wanted to. It's because I enjoy doing that thing. But I'm not doing anything out of obligation on Sunday. It is my day. On the 7th day, she rests.
And one day out of 7, I don't think that's a problem.
It's not. Give me a break.
One day,
y'all can
and you
live.
have the other 6?
Y'all can live
Figure
one day.
it out.
Absolutely. I'm not cooking
Figure it
dinner.
out.
I'm not doing any of that on Sunday. Just give me one day. That's all I ask for. And every other day, y'all can do what you want. I can do everything, but I can't every day. Like, you have to realize that, yes, we are super women, but we're not super woman.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be honest. We have our own special powers and all of that. But at the end of the day, we're still human beings and we still need to be nurtured as well. And the nurturing most of the time for women actually comes from other women or ourselves, if we're really being honest.
And
I don't think
we felt that yesterday.
We did, because to me, I don't think that while men do nurture us in their own nurturing way, they don't nurture us the way we nurture each other, because we understand
they don't have it naturally.
Yeah, exactly. It's
not
a
a
part
natural
of their
thing with them.
I agree 1,000%.
You know, so it's something they would have to learn.
Right.
Where with us,
it's natural.
Just something that's in us.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the tone that was in the room yesterday.
Yep.
It's very hard, and we've mentioned it before, to bring a bunch of women together who know absolutely nothing about one another. The only thing that everybody in the room knew was that you were a wife. So to open up and be transparent and ask
everybody
questions,
was so transparent.
Everybody was contributing and asking questions, and I thought it was amazing. It's like nobody held anything back.
Yep.
And my take on that was I loved every minute of it, because your sharing definitely helped the next person.
Absolutely.
It definitely helped the next person, or even the person who may not have wanted to share or speak in the beginning. By the end of the night, you were talking. You saw a few maybe in the corner, or just quiet with their hands in their lap or whichever, but at the end of the day, they were pulling from it, and it made them want to open up as well. And they may not have shared everything, but they shared enough. I mean, even down to, I had everyone thanking me for yesterday, telling me how they needed it and how they enjoyed it, and I can't wait until the next one. I even had one individual tell me that a guest that they had brung, who knew none of us in there, like when they got in the car, they cried.
I was going to say,
because they did some self-reflecting, and they had done some soul searching within themselves, like, dang, I really need to work on this, or I really need to work on that. And not only did we talk about us as wives, but we even had individuals bring up where their husbands have come to them and expressed that they were losing themselves.
Yeah.
They couldn't find their identity. They didn't know. So a lot of us experience that when our husbands don't know their way and don't know what it is that they want for themselves, they take that out on us, or they put that demand on us to try to find that or fulfill that. Absolutely.
And we can't.
We are supposed to be helpmates.
Yeah, but you can't.
And maybe help them to figure it out. But sweetie, that's something that you're going to have to, maybe figure out for yourself. Now we can work together. And once you decide what it is that you want to do, I support you 100%. Just like, again, I brought up the red table talk and how Jada supported her husband in jumping out of that plane.
Right.
But that's something that he had to decide that he wanted to do.
Right.
And it's like, I love watching that.
Me too.
Because
it's my favorite
it shows that even though they have money and even though they are what we consider superstars or whichever, they are still human.
Yeah.
And they still with everyday issues. And one of the things that they talked about in their last segment was about how we brought it up, how Will had done all of these things for Jada. And it was like how she had to remind him, like, no, you did it for you. We have to be strong enough to let our husbands know when it's something something that's not fulfilling to us. You know, communication is key with any relationship, whether it's with your homegirl, your children, or whoever, your spouse. Communication is key.
Yes.
And so if you're not communicating the information to the correct person, which is another reason I beat myself up, because again, I was venting to friends and everybody else but my husband. You know, we could have figured that out a long time ago, that it was me that was the problem and that I had to deal with myself.
Right.
Had I just simply gone to him and talked to him. But it took for us to be in front of a complete stranger to figure that out.
But you know, sometimes you think you are communicating. Like there's some people who really in your mind, because you've even had the conversation with yourself, or because you think that the way that you've said something or the fact that you responded a certain way to it, you think that that means that I
communicated.
Yeah, but to the other person, they
It's
like,
not.
well, no, because that's not direct enough sometimes for men.
Absolutely.
You know?
And one of the things that was brought up on yesterday, because I had brought up about sexual activity, and I said, I feel like my husband, we're not intimate enough. But what I had to point out was my being intimate more often had nothing to do with the sexual portion of it. It was more so because, again, I'm not, you know, as petite as I was in high school or when I graduated before these kids. So it's like, you know, him coming on to me more kind of gave me confirmation that he was still physically attracted to me. And so because, you know, people had brought up, well, why don't you initiate? Why don't you go to him? Because that's defeating the purpose. I had never communicated effectively the reasoning behind me wanting to get that from him. He just assumed it was me just wanting sex all the time. No, that's not it. But again, I assumed he understood what I meant.
What you were
and we
feeling.
cannot place expectations and assume, because when we do that, things can be so misinterpreted, it's not even funny. And that's when you're at a roadblock. That's when you get absolutely nowhere. And I think one of our guests from yesterday, you would know who she is, and I'm not going to say her name, but when she came in, she's been married for it'll be 12 years in December. And remember, she was very confident about her speech when she said, oh, you all, I just signed for my apartment and I will be moving on the 28th of this month. And before she left, after listening to us for just that short time that she was able to stay, she whispered in my ear, I'm so confused. I don't know what I want to do or what I should do. And I said, the first thing you want to do is pray. And the second thing is maybe instead of the couples therapy, because they had both signed up for the couples therapy, do like I did and get the individual therapy.
Yeah, because you got to find yourself again too.
Because it could be something that you're dealing with. It may not even necessarily be him, because in personal conversation, he is that guy. He works hard. He pays the majority of the bills.
Right.
He will cook and things like that. I'm like, sis, I'm trying to get my husband to pick up a spatula. Like, you mad about that? So it's things that, you know, she's pointed out where it looks like her pros definitely outweigh the cons. So I'm like, is moving out from your spouse really the answer?
Yeah, it may be. A lot of times it's, again, I just spoke about this. When we lose who we are, it's most of the time, and because you can't always say every time, most of the time you lose who you are because society tells us to behave a certain way, to be perceived a certain way. So if you want to be a good wife means blah, 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 blah.
You have to be the tail and he's the head.
Right.
You have to be
if you
submissive.
want to be a good mom,
you have to do this and do that.
A good mom means da, 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 da.
Changed.
You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is if someone's telling me that I have to do a certain thing for me to be perceived a certain way, then I start doing that. But what if that's not natural to me?
And that is what came up yesterday. We had on so many good points yesterday.
Like
they said, we present ourselves the way society says that we are supposed to be.
Yep.
But you have to do what works best for your household.
Right.
I mean, and don't get it twisted. Some stuff I raise an eyebrow to, like, you're really doing that in your marriage. But like what was brought up yesterday, this is what works for us.
Right. And that's the key.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's
this is what makes
relationship
us happy,
is different.
Okay with doing. So I think the main thing on top of any and all things, we have to respect each other's decisions and wishes. Because like you just said, we have to separate ourselves from the way society says we should be and do what works for us.
Yeah, as the individual.
You know, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tear you down. I'm not here to judge you or anything. I can have my opinion, but I still need to respect where you're coming from.
Exactly.
And that's why on yesterday as well, we not only had husbands and wives, but we even had an individual who was married to a woman. And I wanted everybody from all angles. You know, when I sent the invite out, I said, whether you're happily married, whether you're unhappily married, whether you're separate, you just have to be married to show up. And I really, really wanted one of my invitees to come because she was older and they have way more experience in their marriage as far as like even beyond the 20 years. And I wanted them to be able to shed some light because when everybody had first come in, I had discussed my grandmother telling me some stories when I was going through with my first marriage, whereas though she shared with me some stories. And mind you, my grandmother was married for 40 plus years, but the information that she had given me, you could have tilted me over with a feather when she was done. I'm like, my grandfather, the person that you've been married to all this time, the person that we see and we look at you two as having this perfect relationship and perfect marriage, you went through that or you dealt with that. So it was like these marriages that are long lasting and long standing, and don't get me wrong, I think they were more so forced to deal with a lot. My grandmother had 13 children, you know, so for her to just pick up and say, I'm not dealing with this, she couldn't do that. He was the breadwinner. She stayed home and took care of the home. And so for her to do that, to go out and get a job, you know, the experiences were different. Today, we are more so equal. If you're not equal, it could be the situation where the woman is bringing in the majority, and we cannot look at what someone else is doing because that's not you.
Right.
That's not you. So we also have to learn to look outside the box. And our spouses, I had shared the situation with my husband being needy and always wanting affection and this, that, and the third. But I also have to look at the fact that my husband's mom died when he was 9. And so his grandmothers, they always spoiled him, you know, feeling like they owed him something. So it's like he looked for that in me. But it wasn't until I was understanding to that I was more understanding to certain behavior. And even though I may not have agreed with it, it still helped me to understand how to deal with and how to approach my certain situations. Yesterday did exactly what I had hoped it was going to do. I wanted us to feel like us supporting one another, us being there for one another. I really hope that this grows. I've been getting so many messages because I posted today some of the photos and, you know, I tagged a lot of you in it. People like, that looked like it was so uplifting. I want to come. I want to, you know, I want to be a part of. Please let me know when you're having the next event. And I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I even want us to get to a point after we bond a little bit more and we do a little bit more, because it's supposed to be for us married gals, you know, but I want to start extending the invite out to engaged individuals or people wanting to be married, because like I said, people have this idea of marriage that is simply is not. I think you should have to get married at a courthouse or something simple and small. And then once you've gone through at least your 5th year of being married is when you should be allowed to celebrate and do the big shit. Allowed to celebrate.
I think that's taking it too far. These people
you know why I say you know why I say allowed
as adults, girl.
And I get it, but so many people get married with the wrong idea. And when you get married with the wrong idea, it's like so many marriages fail.
Yep, I agree with that.
Because of that, I have people right now who have been engaged for 2 and 3 years. Why are you engaged for 3 years? Oh, because we're saving the money to get this day and
girl, but you know those is just excuses. I mean, that's not real. When people say stuff like that, they're making excuses. The only thing I would challenge about rules is that some people have to go through what they go through so that they can learn whatever it is that the universal God has for them to learn. So sometimes things just have to happen a certain way.
You're right.
I know people who have spent, I mean, when I say thousands upon thousands of dollars, I know a girl who spent over $100,000. And
probably didn't even stay married for a year.
They're not married today. They were married, I think, for 3 or 4 years. But the thing about it is she had to do that for her to really understand the value of spending money on material things, which is very little value, and valuing what she was doing and what she was trying. It was like a play. It was literally like a stage play, but there was no substance in the actual relationship and the marriage to keep them. So I think sometimes people, unfortunately, have to pay those types of prices, either with time, with money, material things, marrying the wrong person. I think sometimes that's just the path that it takes for people to learn what they need to learn.
And it's unfortunate because
it is unfortunate.
$100,000, like,
girl,
that's the way that you have to learn your lesson. Yep. Like that's too much. You know what you can do with $100,000?
Yeah.
Like literally, like, and that's where I'm trying to get to. And don't get me wrong, I know I can't save the world. I'm not trying to save the world, but I just wish someone would be empowered to make better decisions.
Yeah. You have to really understand what it is that you're trying to get from the marriage. Is it about, I want this person to make me happy? I even challenge where I heard you say, I used to do it too. And sometimes I still do. Like sometimes I backslide and I still do it. But I used to have this thing. I want to make sure that you still find me sexy. Like, I want you to make me feel sexy. But once I really started like looking into myself, because I was getting tired of like, why do I keep feeling like this? And why am I giving someone else the power to make me feel or not feel sexy? What I realized was that I had gained so much weight. Like, I used to be small and I gained, I wasn't ever teeny, but I used to be substantially smaller, right? I ain't had no belly. I ain't have thunder thighs.
Girl,
so I used to be smaller. And what happened for me was over the years, it starts to hit at your self-esteem as you gain the weight. But you don't really think about that on the surface of your thought process. But deep down inside, it had hit my self-esteem. So what I was doing was projecting that to my husband and making it his responsibility to make me feel how I needed to feel. And once I like really dissected that, that's why I brought it up. Once I really dissected that, I was like, wait a minute. I can't expect him to make me feel that way. I have to look at myself and feel that way, because if I feel that way, I wouldn't be requiring him to make me feel that way. He can't make me feel that way. So
you feel good about self.
Exactly.
So whether he came onto you or not, you two were happy, and it was a happy situation. And remember, someone had brought up the fact that they had spent all this time putting on their lingerie. And like she said, as soon as she got in the room, he like, yes, take it all off. And she like, Ninja, it took me all this time to get this stuff, and I do not. But at the end of the day, again, we also have to look at what is it that they actually like.
Exactly.
Like Jada said, you did it for you. You didn't do it for him, because you would have known that he didn't even need all of that.
He didn't even ask you
what
for
she
no
say?
lingerie.
All you gotta do is just back it up to him a little bit, and he going, go off. He don't need all of that. But so we have to really look at who, the what, the why, all of the 4 W's, I like to call it, and really figure out what it is that we need to do or want to do.
Right.
You have to, because again, what they say, happy life, happy wife, or whatever, but both parties have to be happy in the situation. I think we need to be the happiest, but
that's the thing. Like, you gotta, the woman, I know that sounds bad, like when we say like the woman is more important, but here's the thing.
The both woman are important, but
the woman sets the tone for the energy in the household.
We do.
When mama is not happy, the house is in turmoil, period. So the investment in yourself and the investment that your spouse should make in you, it makes a huge difference in everybody's experience at home, right? Nobody wants their house to be in turmoil. I stand by that 1,000%.
Well, because my husband said in couples therapy, he felt like he had a roommate.
Oh, wow.
We had gotten to a point, you didn't, that's right, because you had came in just a little bit late.
I didn't hear that part.
I had shared an awesome story where, again, we have felt like we were roommates. We did not feel like husband and wife, because what had happened was I was placing expectations and wanting him to do a certain thing. And then it was like, once he wasn't doing it, it's like, well, I'm going to stop doing the things that you wanted from me to make you happy. So now we're both unhappy. We're both not putting into this. And now we're both just there, literally just taking up each other's space, waking up in the morning, passing each other to go to the bathroom, leaving out the door, not kissing each other before we leave or whichever, coming home, doing our normal routines, leaving back out. Like, it was literally like we're just paying bills together, and he is actually the one that asked for the counseling.
That, to God be the glory.
I didn't ask for it.
That's awesome.
He asked for it because I was feeling like it just is.
Yeah, like
it is what it is. Because and even in my mind, before we even went to counseling, I had thought negatively. I felt like, my husband is set in his ways. It's just going to be what it's going to be, because can't nobody tell him anything. He only think about himself. This man is going to talk to us and we just going to leave out, and it's going to be the same. Nothing is going to change. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Granted, we're not at 100%, but we are at least 50% where we were coming from zero.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know what I mean? We are halfway there, and we still have a lot more to do. But the great thing is the fact that we both want to do it, and we're both wanting to put into this to make it work. And that's what's important as well. It can't be one-sided.
And I want to make a point to that, and then I'm going to start wrapping up, because I get questions from a lot of queens. Like, how do you guard your heart from the man who really maybe you shouldn't invest in and you shouldn't get married, versus investing in the man who you should? I know that feeling. It was hard for me. It's like, I think some women struggle with that, because like, if you want for the man to be the one, you make it up in your mind that he's the one.
But it goes back to what we just said, your own personal reasons.
Agree.
You want that unhealthy man to be the one because you lack something.
Exactly.
And because you don't have something.
Yes.
So no matter what, one thing for certain, we already know. We know, I'm not going to say we know that man is the one or that man is our soulmate, but we know whether it's wrong.
We do. We just
but we don't know how we
exactly
for we allow our hearts to think for us instead of what we know we need to do.
Right.
And so that is the reason that we put up or may have put up with a lot of unhealthy relationships and allow that individual to tear us up so bad. And I shared a story of that in the beginning as well with my first husband. You know, this man literally stood me up at the altar. I went to the church not to get married, but to tell everybody it wasn't happening because he had come to me an hour before my wedding to let me know he couldn't do it.
Holy crap.
And I still married him, Bree, 2 months later. You see what I mean? Knowing that this man wasn't right. And see, but what I didn't know was him telling me an hour before my ceremony that he couldn't do it was because he had a kid on the way.
Whoop. Oh, honey, that's a whole nother episode.
His kid is 6 months older than my child. Now, let's do the math. If I've been with you since I was 14, we're now at this point, I'm 19, you're 20, going on 21. We're going to get married or whichever. But you have a child and I don't have one yet. Again, I knew I shouldn't have married him at the time. When we actually did get married, I knew what the reason was. And I still did it.
Oh, you accepted it.
I accepted it and I still did it. And asked me how long we stayed married.
How long?
A weekend.
Girl.
We got married on a Friday. There's no such thing as an annulment in the state of Maryland. I tried to call on that Monday. Guess what? I took my little belongings and I went back home because it was still too much turmoil with she's now calling and this is your first kid and you're excited, but it's like you're not trying to show me your excitement because you don't want me to feel a certain way. It was just too much. But again, I knew that I should not have done it. But the position that I was in, this man was there when I had gone through so much of my own personal stuff. It was like he filled a void. And I felt like if he left, then that void I would have to fill.
See, but that's part of the problem.
I would have to fill.
When you get what you need outside of you, that's what creates those attachments. And then you're afraid to let go.
You're afraid to let go because you don't want to have to deal with those things. So that's why I suggested the personal therapy, the self-reflection, like you said, the you time. Those things are really important. And I know it's easier said than done because it took a lot of us in that room years before we actually got to that point. I'm still trying to get to that point. I'm still not there yet. As much as I have it together.
It really does because it's almost like we're programmed to do for everybody else first. So you have to almost deprogram that thought process and go back and then create a whole new thought process of what makes sense and what needs to be done for you.
Yeah, because you said in our first episode, not this one, but the first episode, you outlined this perfect person. Not so much perfect. None of us are perfect, but you outlined all of the great qualities that I have. I'm a super mom. I'm a awesome wife. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm this, I'm that. But guess what? I was broken. I was still broken. Yep. But it's like doing all of those things helped me to not have to deal with it.
Exactly.
It kept me busy. It allowed me not to have to feel. It allowed me not to have to think.
Yep.
So eventually it caught up with me. So that's why in the beginning of this segment, I said 3 weeks ago, I was in a funk because I could no longer lie to myself.
Right.
And I no longer wanted to be at war with myself. And I no longer wanted to use making other people happy to hide that. Because at the end of the day, you cannot lie to yourself. And that's what a lot of us are doing again in our relationships. We are lying to ourselves. We're again placing those expectations. We're wanting things that we want other people to give us, and it's not their responsibility.
Absolutely.
We just have to learn to gain the relationship. And I'm not saying everybody has to believe in God, but you have to find some inner peace, something that you believe or something that you can go to allow you to just meditate and reflect. Because if you don't, you are running into a brick wall.
You are. And I'm glad you said that, because again, it touches on the episode that I dropped today. And that is, we get our pats on the back, we get our self-esteem, we get our feel-good moments, we get a girl from making other people happy, from being a good mom, from being a good wife, from being a good sister, a good friend, a good daughter. Like all of those things we do. But what we're doing is we're trying to feel better about who we are by doing things. And I think Jada actually said this too. What a lot of people experience is transactional love, meaning I do this for you. You do this for me. Yeah. And we exchange transactions when really I don't need to do that for you for me to get the atta girl, good job, you're the best, oh, you're a beast, you're a super mom, You're a great wife. We look for those things. We look for the likes. We look for the comments. We look for all of these outside things to make us feel how we need to feel. And then what happens is we feel depleted at the end of the day because we're performing like court fucking jesters, excuse my language. But seriously, like we're performing like court jesters. Yeah, it's exactly.
It's not natural. It's like we just said, it's scripted.
It is scripted.
It's a tit for tat. That's what it is.
Once you lay down at the end of the day and you feel unfulfilled because really you're just performing, but you're not getting anything out of it.
And it's like, how long
you
do you
can't
hold
do
up
it
the
forever.
And that's why a lot of marriages end in divorce.
Absolutely.
That's why a lot of marriages do not last. And that's why I brought up the fact of, you should be allowed. Not necessarily, I know, like you said, we are adults. Right. Nobody should be able to dictate to you how you celebrate your special day, but it's like you really need to go through that fire.
Yes.
And make sure and be
sure.
Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm getting text messages right now from wives that attended yesterday, like, do you like your counselor? If you do, like, can you send me his information? Like, again, and that's what I wanted. I don't want to be that Olivia Pope, because I'm not y'all. I want us to be able to get together and just be happy and enjoy the moment. I don't want people to feel like this is a session where we come together to tear our men down, because it's not.
Oh no, absolutely.
It's definitely not. It's a way for us to try to figure this thing out so that we can all be on one accord and not have to continue to do, like we said, what society feels we need to do, or be how society feels we should be. Yeah. Because trying to live up to that expectation is very hard.
Well, that, and you actually do need to understand that how you feel is normal. And that there are other people who experience these same things, and then you get to bounce it off of them, because what happens is we feel guilty and we feel bad for feeling how we feel. But really and truthfully, we're allowed to feel how we feel. We do a lot. We're allowed to feel tired. We're allowed to feel like, don't talk to me today. We're allowed to say, don't ask me for anything today. We're allowed to go and get our hair done, our nails done, and go get a massage.
They do it?
Yeah, we're allowed that time.
My husband goes all the time.
Listen, honey,
and I allow him that time.
Yeah, because everyone needs that time, and everyone needs to feel like they're important, and they need to feel like that they have an outlet. And I think that's what For Married Gals Only was. It was an outlet. It was a way
just
for women.
Just a few hours for us to have an outlet and come and just get everything out that we wanted to get out.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, Queens, we are definitely going to invite Jamie back.
I think I'm going to actually probably start an Instagram page similar to what like you started, so that we can post and share.
That
people
would be
can
amazing.
Instant message me, and
whichever
we can post. I think I'm definitely, before the night is over with. So wives, if you're out there, you can inbox me on my personal page. I'm MIZZFRIERSON. That's my Instagram, and my name is Jamie Frierson on Facebook. And if there's something that you would like to be a part of, and you're married, or even if you're wanting to be married or whichever, because I think you can also get something from it.
Absolutely.
You can definitely be empowered by it as well. I'm definitely going to send you out that request so that you can accept it and follow along and keep up and be able to ask questions and comments and so forth. So yeah, I think that's definitely something I'm going to do today.
So Queens, what I will do is I'm going to provide a link to Jamie's page so that if any of you queens are out there, if you want to connect with Jamie, you absolutely can. By the time this episode airs, if Jamie has her For Married Gals Only page up, you will also see a link to that page direct, because again, Queens, we have to support one another. As we all know, that is why I created the All Queens Army. That is why I created this platform, because I wanted for women to feel okay with talking about how they feel and not feel guilty about it. It doesn't matter what we go through. It doesn't matter how we get to where we're going. The fact is that we have a bunch of sisters in the queen community who are here to listen, who are here to support, who are here to offer advice and not judge. So with that being said, thank you so much, Jamie, again for coming to the show. And
but
more
now
importantly,
I gotta find a reason to come back again.
I know we have to figure something
bug
out,
you.
right?
No, but you have it all together. It's like I'm like nagging you because I just like coming.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, we love having you, baby. We will
thank
definitely
you.
have you on another episode. Queens, thank you so much. Make sure you connect with me at All Queens Army on Facebook and on Instagram. I love you, Queens. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breizy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.